Welcome to the Fear and Greed Afternoon Report for Friday the 6th of May 2022. I'm Sean Aylmer. Every afternoon we bring you the 5 news items that happened today that you need to know about. Let's jump into it. Story number 1. In short, it was carnage on the S&P ASX 200 today, with the index down 2.2% to 7,206 points, and that's after recovering somewhat in afternoon trading. More than 90% of the top 200 stocks lost ground. The declines followed an even worse fall on Wall Street, and investors are worried that the local and global economies are set for a sharp slowdown and much higher inflation. Tech stocks were smashed. I think that's probably the best word for it. The information technology sub-index tumbled 4.3%, led lower by Xero, which fell more than 8.5%. The real estate investment trust sector was sold down, with market leader Goodman Group of 4.4%. All the banks were lower, the big miners fell, and CSL was down more than 3%. Building materials company James Hardie fell 5.5%, while REA was off 7.6% after disappointing investors with its March quarter update. All sectors fell sharply with the exception of consumer staples. Think the big supermarkets, which only fell slightly. The best of the large caps were healthcare group Fisher & Paykel, which rose 2.4%, and Coles, which jumped 1.2%. Story number 2, with 2 weeks to go, the political campaigning is heating up. There's plenty of speculation that Australia will end up with a hung parliament, and Prime Minister Scott Morrison was asked today whether he'd lead the nation if that occurred. He pretty much avoided that one. He said he didn't agree with his predecessor Malcolm Turnbull, who overnight said the moderate faction of the Liberal Party was diminishing and voting for so-called teal independents. They're like pretend moderate Liberals. Voting for them would help wrest the Liberal Party back from the right. While the Turnbull comments got much attention, Mr Morrison was outspoken a $1 billion plus spend to help the Australian defence industry. Opposition leader Anthony Albanese was under fire for dropping a pledge to pay parental super on government-funded parental leave. He also said he wanted to hold a royal commission into the COVID pandemic. Don't worry, only 2 weeks to go. Story number 3. Macquarie Group delivered a 56% jump in net profit for the year to the end of March to $4.7 billion, but its share price tumbled more than 7% because CEO Shemara Wikramanayake was cautious about what's ahead for the global economy. One of the busiest parts of the business was its commodities operation, thanks to rising prices, and its capital markets division did pretty well too, thanks to all the mergers and acquisitions activity over the past year. Shareholders will receive a higher, partly franked dividend. Story number 4, global media giant News Corp this morning reported a strong result. Revenue hit a new third quarter record and net income was up 8%. It reflected a strong rebound in advertising, new content, licensing revenues and strong digital subscription gains. Its Dow Jones business out of the US was a standout, while Foxtel's total paid subscribers jumped sharply thanks to News' 2 most recent streaming services, Binge and Kayo. But the pace of growth has slowed and the result disappointed investors. News Corp's share price tumbled more than 8%, hitting a 15-month low. And story number 5, what a ride on Wall Street. I mentioned it earlier on. Yesterday, the market went up by 3%. This morning, it fell by more than 3%. The tech-heavy Nasdaq was down nearly 5%. Only 19 of the 500 companies on the S&P 500 ended the morning in positive territory. Not far off 10% of companies hit new lows. There was plenty going on. The drop occurred after investors went too hard yesterday, following commentary by the US Federal Reserve, which was more dovish than expected. Then overnight, the Bank of England came out and lifted interest rates, but gave a poor prognosis for its economy. It wasn't just the equity market that was affected. Cryptos were sold off too. Bitcoin fell by as much as 11%, the most since January. Ether, Avalanche and Solana all fell as well. What a topsy-turvy week. That's it for the afternoon report for Friday, the 6th of May, 2022. Don't forget to hit follow on the podcast and find Fear and Greed on LinkedIn, Twitter and Facebook. Join Michael Thompson and I tomorrow morning for the Weekend Fast 5 by Fear and Greed. I'm Sean Aylmer. Enjoy your evening.